everyone, it's Mimi and Weezus.
Hey guys, what's good?
We're back for round 3.
We love to go on our hiatus.
Yeah, so hopefully our hiatus is done. We just needed a little self-care time to get back on track and settle into our new lifestyles. But we're good. We're good to go. So
she says that, but we are here stressed and fighting for our lives.
We are financially struggling, dude. So download this episode, like and subscribe on YouTube.
And anyway. We back.
Yeah, and we back, dude. We are actually really excited to be back. Our first episode back is actually going to be close to home, new home anyways. Today we're going to cover Bryan Kohberger and the University of Idaho students, Kaylee, Xana, Madison, and Ethan, who were killed in Moscow, Idaho back on November 13th, 2022. So the entire story is just crazy. You might have noticed recently that, Hulu, Paramount Plus, Amazon Prime, everything is just popping with documentaries about this now. So I think that's kind of why we're doing it, is just because the gag order was released.
We hit the wave.
Yeah, we're going to hit the wave with everyone else. And honestly, there wasn't that much information available before. Not as much as we wanted anyway to do an episode. A lot of it would have just been conspiracy. And so now we actually have some facts. So, per usual, I'm going to start by reading the timeline of events. We'll start the day before the murders. So Saturday, November 12th, 2022. Kaylee, Madison, best friends for life. They have been friends since they were kids. They were two peas in a pod. They decided to go out. They were both going to school in Moscow. They went out to some bars, just typical 21-year-old college stuff, That same night, Ethan and Xana, who were dating, they also, I think Ethan had gone to a formal event with his sister, and then they went to a frat house, went to a party. So Xana was roommates with the other two girls. Ethan and Xana were dating. Ethan was just staying the night with his girlfriend. Typical, college romance type of stuff. Super cute couple. Look up the pics. About 4 a.m. that night, or I guess technically it's the next day, so November 13th, Xana got a DoorDash order. I'm real curious what you're getting from DoorDash at 4 a.m. College towns may be different, though, on what they deliver.
Are they either getting food from a food truck, them tacos, or it's plain old McDonald's?
Mickey D's. Dude, remember back when we were 21, the Mickey D's orders would go crazy?
Dude, yeah, for sure.
Our usual
50-piece chicken nugget. Let's go.
Yeah, with barbecue and spicy buffalo sauce, and you had to dip it in both.
Let's go.
Anyways, so just after 4 a.m., Kohberger entered the house through the sliding door, went to the 3rd floor of the house, and stabbed Madison and Kaylee, according to the prosecutor. So at about 4:17 a.m., same night, November 13th, a security camera less than 50 feet away from Xana's room picked up the sound of Madison. So just after 4 a.m., Bryan Kohberger entered the house through the kitchen sliding door, went to the 3rd floor, and fatally stabbed Madison and Kaylee, according to the prosecutor, right? So at about 4:17 a.m., a security camera less than 50 feet away from Xana's room picked up sounds of Kaylee, a barking dog, and some distorted audio of what sounded like voices and a whimper, followed by a loud thud. Crazy, right?
Damn.
Mm-hmm. So then Xana, who lived on the 2nd floor, was still awake when Kohberger killed both Kaylee and Madison. And then Kohberger was, and I quote, either coming down the stairs or leaving when he encountered Xana and ended up killing her.
Damn, she was literally going to the door to pick up her DoorDash.
Yeah,
she got the Mickey D's on hand, and then just gets murdered like that?
Yeah.
That's brutal.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, something crazy happened. Anyways, so then Kohberger then killed Ethan, who was asleep in Xana's room. So this, it's really confusing, so I hope I explained that well, but basically, out of the 6 people in the house, 4 of them were killed. So just before 4:30 a.m., the 2 surviving roommates, whose names are Dylan and Bethany, were texting back and forth to each other, according to the court documents, and then they appeared to just be super frightened. They were calling and texting the other 4 victims, but obviously those calls and texts went unanswered. So some of the texts read, "No one is answering," and that's what Dylan sent. And then she said, "I'm really confused." And this is before 4:22 and 4:24 a.m. Then she also said, "Kaylee," and then she said, "What's going on?" And then she said, I'm freaking out right now. And this is between Bethany and Dylan both. They're both texting back and forth. Then Dylan makes a reference to someone saying, and I quote, like a ski mask almost. And then Bethany responds, shut the fuck up, right? So then she said...
And they were like, let's go to bed.
Yeah, literally. And then she said, I'm not kidding. And then they were like, oh my God, we're so freaked out. And then she says, Bethany was like, come to my room, run, right? So that's all in the text messages. And then later in the morning, the roommate called her friends over to the house because they thought one of the victims was just passed out because she wouldn't wake up. Like, that really just doesn't make sense, but it's okay. I'll keep going with the story. They didn't call the police. So the 911 call was not received until 11:58 a.m. from one of the roommates' phones, and then all they did was just request help for an unconscious person.
Man.
So it just seems like a little wild, because I'm going to tell you right now, dude, this, had we been in college and the same situation, or, you know, I saw a masked man in the hallway and I heard a thud, I wouldn't have gone back to bed. I would have... You know me, though. I have severe anxiety. I would have been like, oh my gosh. I would have panicked. I don't know.
It's also the places we lived.
Yes, it is also that. I'm trying to think in my mind, though, like, had we been drinking or, like, doing worse, I may have been not so quick to call the cops, but I would have been quick to try and find out what the hell was going on. I would have, like, woke someone up and been like, bruh, like, we got to do something. And then I would have investigated. I would have been like, I'm sleepy. Let's find out tomorrow.
One thing you got to keep in mind,
yeah.
I know it's a small college town, but Moscow is one of the safest cities in United States. Before this happened, previously, there had not been a recorded killing in 7 years. So imagine that, what that does to people growing up in those towns. Like, they literally think their city is the safest place. Nothing's ever gonna happen. You know, people getting killed, that just happens in movies and shows. But I mean, it's just real life. Well,
I mean, even living in big places, like, you feel like that, I guess, you know, until something actually happens to you. So I'm not trying to blame the surviving roommates and saying they messed up. We weren't in that situation, so the trauma going on, like, you don't understand till you're there. But I just feel like when I was watching the documentaries and I was hearing about it all, that was the most, like, shocking part to me, is that it took so long for someone to be contacted, like, for authorities to be contacted.
See, even then, like, let's say, you know, we lived together.
Mm-hmm.
If you weren't answering your phone, I would go knock on your door, you know, and
exactly.
push. And when push comes to shove, like, if you weren't answering and it had been like an hour or two, I would bust in the door. I'd be like, Miranda.
Exactly. Right? Well, even if not, if I like, remember the other day you were asleep and we were supposed to go to, was it the concert or wherever wherever we were freaking going? So I'm like banging on your bedroom door. You're not answering, and so I call your phone. You didn't answer, and then I was just like, all right, I'm going in. Like, if I see your butthole, I see your butthole. I don't even care. Like, I'm making sure you're alive. Like, so I understand being young and scared and everything, but that part just, like, to me, that's what really just shocks me still, is all of that. So when the police officers and the first responders, I guess, when they responded to that 911 call, that's when they found all 4 victims, right? So one of the roommates had told authorities that in the middle of the night, she saw a man in black clothes, a mask, walking past her in the house. According to the court documents, she even put that in writing, you know.
And bushy eyebrows.
Yes. She also said bushy eyebrows. She described him as, like, not very muscular, but still athletically built on top of that.
Was it Miles?
So then authorities reviewed the surveillance video and saw Kohberger's white Hyundai Elantra go by the victim's house 3 times before entering the area for the 4th time at 4:04 a.m.
So he was literally stalking his victims. He literally passed 3 times to make sure to make sure that they were all there, not to make sure that no one was there.
Yeah. That you know what? That's right. Like, to make sure they were there. Police said they traced the car's travel that night back to Pullman, Washington, where Kohberger actually lived, and he studied criminology. He was getting his PhD at Washington State University. So Kohberger's phone was tracked heading to Moscow before the attack. Then his phone was turned off from 2:47 a.m. to 2:48 a.m., which is consistent with him trying to conceal his location during the murders, right?
Yeah.
What a weird time to have your phone off. He then returned to the area of the house where the 4 students were killed just after 9 a.m. So he still came back to see what was going on, right? But the cops still hadn't been called, so he's just driving past an empty house.
Man, imagine.
Basically,
he literally
not even empty.
What is it called? Like trophy killing?
Yeah.
He went to go see, like, oh, let's go see my work of art.
Yeah, that's what, like, I watch Criminal Minds a lot, and that's what they always do. Like, you know, they're always involved in some way, or they always go back to look. And I get that that's just a show, but like, it is based off of real life stuff. That's still crazy
the thing,
to me.
Though, like the killer always returns to the scene of the crime. That's like it's like a running joke on those shows. Mm-hmm. But I feel like that's just real life.
Yeah, no, it's insane. Well, so speaking of his phone records, though, his phone was pinged near the victim's house at least 12 times before the murder, going all the way back to August. So that tells you like this is premeditated, right? Like,
yeah, he had scope. He had them in his sights of who he was gonna kill.
Yeah, exactly. And I'm like, which one was the intended target? Was it all of them, or was it just one of them? Like, did one of the girls do something to upset him?
You know, that's the weird thing, Miranda. When I looked that up online, a lot of people say it was Kaylee, and the majority say it was Maddie. Yeah. But you know, who knows?
I don't know. It's really weird. Well, so then the autopsies were conducted on November 17th, 2022, and all of them determined that like the victims were stabbed multiple times. On Tuesday, November 22nd, this is when the Moscow police had asked the authorities to look out for white Alondras. On November 29th, a Washington State University police officer searched cars that matched the description at the university and found one that was registered to Bryan Kohberger. On Wednesday, November 30th, all the families and classmates gathered at the University of Idaho for like a candlelight vigil. That is what you'll see in the documentaries, which is super sad, dude. Yeah, it's really hard to handle.
That's a heavy part right there. Because you always put yourself in their shoes. Like, you always put yourself like, damn, what if that would have happened to my family? What if that would have happened to my friends? And that's how you start to relate to them. Yeah. You know? And I could never imagine losing my friends. I mean, I have lost friends, but I couldn't imagine losing everyone at once.
Yes, that is insane. Like, your whole, or at least the majority of your group of friends, something this horrible happening to them, or just losing them in general. It's insane. It brings back, like, feelings, dude, when you watch it.
Oh, dude, for real.
But it wasn't until Wednesday, December 7th, 2022, that the police actually announced to the public that they were seeking the driver of a white 2011 to 2013 Hyundai Elantra that was seen, and I quote, in the immediate area of the victim's house on that day, November 13th.
Man.
So this is when they're like, anyone who has information on the car, like, contact the tip line. The tip line was popping off at this point because some of it was real information and some of it was also, you know, trolls just making stuff up.
For sure. Or they just thought they knew. They're like, oh, I don't like this guy. I'm going to report him.
Yeah, exactly. And they were just going crazy. Or any white car that they would see, they'd be like, that's the one. I'm calling. So then Tuesday, December 13th, this is like the 1 month mark, right? The Moscow police captain said that police are closely guarding, and I quote, the information that we've discovered at the scene and our investigative information, because we want to protect the integrity of this investigation. But he also promised, this investigation is not cold. We get tips every day that are viable. Those tips help us do everything from clear people to further some of the theories that we're working on. Eventually, we're going to narrow in on exactly what happened and who did it.
Wow.
So he's making speeches like this. At this point, it's been a month and the killer hasn't been caught. So imagine being a college student in that situation where your friends were just murdered and they haven't caught the killer, and it happened in a place that you go every weekend to have beers with your friends. You go every weekend to have fun, or even every night. Like, you remember how we were in college? Like, we literally not only partied like most of the time, but we didn't need space at that point. Like, we weren't grown-ups, so we hung out every single day. Every night we were all together.
Yeah.
You know, and that's a normal thing.
Like you said, we could have locked the front door, but we always forget to lock the sliding door.
Yes, exactly. And that's something that with time and too many movies, I've learned to be, like, careful about. But I vividly remember us just partying like crazy back in 2014, 15, 16. Nobody cared about locking the doors. All we cared about was who won beer pong that night.
For real.
And dude, who was gonna chug the most vodka without, dying. Like, literally, that's what we cared about, to be honest.
Who had the fastest shotgun?
Yeah, exactly.
Jesus to this day.
who could do, what are they called? A body shot. Like, like stuff like that. So then, Friday, December 15th, 2 days later, as police in Idaho, they start searching for, like, even more answers, right? Kohberger ends up being stopped by Indiana police for a traffic violation. So this isn't Washington. This isn't Idaho. Why is he leaving? Why is this random dude leaving, right? After Bryan Kohberger's semester at Washington State had ended in December, him and his dad decided to drive across the country in the white Hyundai Elantra, heading to his family's house in Pennsylvania for, and I quote, the holidays. Kohberger and his dad were stopped not once, Jesus, but 2 times on December 15th, just 9 minutes apart from each other, by the way. They were stopped first for speeding, and then when they were stopped again 9 minutes later, they were stopped for following too close to another vehicle.
Oh, man.
So at this point, it seems like, okay, the police are onto them. FBI is onto them, right? Or him. I shouldn't say them. And they're closing in. They see him. They know whose car it is, at this point already. But none of the public has information about who this guy is. They're just sitting there scared as heck, having their kids home for college, like, are they going to get harmed if they go back? Because we don't know who the killer is.
Yeah.
We're going to send our kids back to a place where there's just a murderer on the loose?
I'm not to like blow this out of proportion, but it's like, in Harry Potter when the kids start dying and then there's like the certain scene, it's like, oh, why didn't he come back? Oh, because it's dangerous. Like, why would I go back, send my kid to a place where people are getting murdered? Exactly.
It is the same thing, really. So then after Kohberger's arrest, the sheriff's department and state police said that there was no information at the time on the suspect in the crimes, right? Or specific information on the white Hyundai Elantra. So then the state police added the trooper, having learned the two had been stopped minutes before by another deputy who he knew was working just like right down the road from him that day, used his discretion and released the 2 men after a verbal warning. So at this point, basically, I shouldn't have even read that. I should have just told you. After they got pulled over all those times, both of the police officers were just like, have a good day. See ya. See ya when we see ya. The pictures of him, dude, when he is pulled over that day, he looks scared shitless. I don't know if I should say shitless on the here, but shitless is the only word.
Yeah, it looks. He had the fear of God in his face.
He did. Then we're going to December 27th. This is when the police recovered trash from Kohberger's parents' house in Pennsylvania. So then a lab at this time determined that the DNA from the trash belonged to the father of Bryan, who at the time it was alleged, but who had left DNA on the knife sheath that he had accidentally left next to one of the victim's bodies at the murder scene. So that's something we didn't talk about at the beginning, is that, and I believe it was Ethan's body, right? Or
no, Maddie's.
Maddie's body. Okay, there was either way, there was a knife sheath left next to one of the victim's bodies at the scene of the murder. And it was like a huge leather one too. And they were not able to find DNA like of any kind, really. Like they found like random DNA that didn't belong to anyone, but on the knife sheath, on the button, like, where you like, boop, you pop it at the top and then slide the knife out. Yeah. They found touch DNA on that. And so they pull, what did you say it was? A Q-tip?
Okay, so what they got the evidence from was the dad, a Q-tip. And what they found on him was just basically household trash that he had been putting away in multiple bags. Yeah. Oh, what Jesus just touched on was eventually, once Bryan Kohberger gets arrested, when the police like kicked down his freaking door to go arrest him, he was in his undies and he was picking pieces of trash out of his own garbage and like putting them in individual like Ziploc baggies. That's weird, right? Yeah. But on December 27th, when the lab determined that the DNA from the trash belonged to like the dad, it's because when they dug through his trash, they found a Q-tip and they tested it against the knife sheath. And this is where things get a little tricky. And it popped up. It was at 9999.81%. Mm-hmm. So that means indefinitely it's the same DNA. Was it shared DNA? Yeah, shared DNA. And 99.999999, like it just kept going. Percent shared DNA. Like, that's crazy. Like, I don't know. All of it's wild to me. So then, Friday, December 30th, Bryan Kohberger was arrested in the mountains in the early hours of the morning, right? Because of that DNA match.
So then, Tuesday, January 3rd, 2023, Kohberger was arrested for 4 counts of first-degree murder and burglary, agreed to be extradited to Idaho during his January 3rd court appearance, right?
Yes.
And his lawyer, at this point, says that his client is, and I quote, is eager to be exonerated of these charges and looks forward to resolving these matters as promptly as possible.
All right. This man was so confident in his abilities that he was 100% sure that he was not going to get caught.
That's insane, right?
It's like, it's really egotistic.
Yeah.
He literally thought, well, I'm gonna murder these 4 people and I'm not gonna get caught, and I'm gonna get my degree still.
Yeah, he thought he was just gonna go back to normal life after this. Like, it's really crazy. So then the next day he was extradited from Pennsylvania to Idaho. On Thursday, January 5th, this is when the Idaho State Court released court documents that revealed like some never before seen details of the police investigation. So as Kohberger made his first court appearance in Moscow that same day, Kaylee's parents had stared him down as he entered the courtroom in his jumpsuit, right? Charges were read for the murders of each student. The judge said each victim was stabbed and murdered with premeditation, with malice and forethought. Families were like, all the victims' families were crying and obviously like overcome with emotion as they read each of their child's name. Like, who wouldn't be, right?
And I want you guys to know that they say stabbing, but in the crime scenes and even in the documentaries, they say they were more like tears and slashes. So he wasn't just stabbing them as fast as possible. He was literally brutally killing them.
Yeah, that's sick, dude. The judge at that same time asked Kohberger if he wanted to represent himself or have a court-appointed attorney, and he calmly replied, "I have a court-appointed counsel." That's it.
Man, I don't know what like blind confidence this man had, but the balls to tell that fucking to a court.
Like just the way he's like just speaking. I guess it's just the way that if you watch the videos of him, the way he's talking is just like emotionless, and like in his eyes, he's just like evil, dude.
Yeah, he has like the 1,000-yard stare, but the evil one.
Yes, yeah, dude, he's not cool at all. So then it wasn't until Wednesday, January 11th, that classes resumed at the University of Idaho for the first time since Kohberger's arrest, right?
Yes.
So among the students returning to campus were Ethan's brother, Hunter, and his sister, Maisie. They were triplets. So imagine that, dude. How scary that must be. Hunter, and this is a quote from his mom. Hunter was very glad to be back at the fraternity, and Maisie was warming up to the idea, but it was so good to hear all of the girls squealed with delight upon seeing her. It did this mama's heart good to hear it. So those kids, like the brother and sister especially, and the mom, to send her kids back there is like so scary for me. Like, imagine how scary it would be to go back to school on that first day, dude.
100%. I if I had kids and something like that happened, I lost one because of a murder, I would not be sending them back to that college.
I wouldn't be sending them anywhere at this point. Like, I'm like, I don't care if you're an
adult. You guys are taking online classes. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you want me to pay for it? This is what you're getting, dude. This is what you're getting. So then on Thursday, January 12th, 2023, Kohberger appeared in Idaho court for a status conference where a judge scheduled a preliminary probable cause hearing to begin June 26th. So Bryan, who was in court wearing his jumpsuit, by the way, I just want to keep adding that because how embarrassing. Like, you murder someone, that's your outfit the rest of your life. You stupid. That's what you deserve. He waived his right to a speedy trial. Okay? So this just meant basically that now they don't have to do it quick. They could take as long as they freaking want to do his trial, right? When Kohberger appeared with several cuts on his face, including a 2-inch cut above his chin, on his jawline, and another small one on his cheek, he spoke only 4 words during the entire appearance. The public defender that was representing him requested that the judge allow 4 or 5 days for the probable cause hearing this summer, and the judge indicated that she would block the week of June 26th for that, right? The judge also ordered that Kohberger remain remanded in state custody with no bond. So he didn't get to have any bail or anything, which was good.
Good to hear.
Yeah, yep. March 23rd, court documents unsealed in Monroe County, Pennsylvania, revealed a ton of items that had been seized from Kohberger's parents' home shortly after he was arrested. These included, and I quote, medical-style gloves, a silver flashlight, a black sweatshirt, black socks, and a pair of size 13 Nike shoes. An evidence log also revealed investigators took knives, a cell phone, black gloves, black masks, laptops, dark-colored clothes, and dark shoes, brown boots, and New Balance shoes. The knives included a Smith & Wesson pocket knife and a knife in a leather sheath of some kind, doesn't specify. Criminology books, which included one titled Criminal Psychology, and notebooks were also seized, along with a shop vac and personal documents. So they literally just took everything, basically. On Wednesday, May 17th, 2023, a grand jury indicted Kohberger on murder and burglary charges. If found guilty, he could face the death penalty, which I wish he did, but it's okay. I feel like everyone probably wishes that.
Especially the parents without them saying that out loud, though.
Yeah, I'll say it for him. On Monday, May 22nd, Bryan Kohberger, who was charged with 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary, chose to stand silently during his arraignment, not responding. The judge entered a not guilty plea on his behalf. So the charges at that time were eligible for the death penalty, though. So Friday, June 16th, 2023, prosecutors filed a court document that stating that Bryan Kohberger's DNA was a statistical match with DNA found on the knife used in the stabbings and found at the crime scene. Okay, the filing said that STR analysis, or short tandem repeat analysis, was used to compare these 2 samples. If you want to know what that is, you're gonna have to Google it. Because I have no idea. I didn't have time to do the research on that. On Sunday, June 22nd, 2023, Kohberger's attorney submitted a court filing arguing that, and I quote, there is no connection between Mr. Kohberger and the victims. There is no explanation for the total lack of DNA evidence from the victims in Mr. Kohberger's apartment, office, home, and vehicle. I just don't know how attorneys do it, dude. That is like one hard freaking job.
You know how when they say there's a special place in hell for was it defense attorneys?
Yeah.
I understand, like, it's part of your job, but damn, bro, like,
for you to know that he killed 4 people
and let's say the truth because he told you everything. You're the one that's making up a story for them so you can get them out of it. So imagine you
attorney-client privilege in this case.
Attorney-client privilege. Like, how do you live with knowing all that information?
Yeah.
When you face those people in court, how do you face yourself?
Yeah. Well, and I think sometimes that the attorneys probably don't know, but you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to be told to know. I
feel like they know because they do all the research.
Yeah.
They have to know.
It's just crazy that you're going to stand up there and be like, he didn't do it. But then knowing you did it, like, I don't know. It just drives me nuts every time. Like, it's just such a crazy thing to do for a living is just lie.
Like, I understand, I understand everyone's given the right to a fair trial.
Yeah.
But, if you murder 4 people, I don't think you have rights anymore.
You shouldn't. It's insane.
Just saying.
Like, like the guilty until proven innocent, yes, like, that should matter. But if you go straight up and, like, you slaughtered a group of people, and then you're just going to stand up there and be like, I didn't do it, dude. On God, for real. Like, I didn't. And you're going to swear on everything.
What's the point of swearing on the Bible if you're going to straight up lie?
Yeah, there's no point. Anyways, so then Friday, June 22nd, 2023 comes around. At this point, the judge has denied 2 motions to either remove the gag order or be exempt from it. The judge said that the case against Kohberger is high profile and he has a duty to not jeopardize his right to a fair trial. So this is where the judge is trying to do the best thing he can. Monday, June 26th, prosecutors announced that they are going to seek the death penalty for Bryan Kohberger. They're ready, dude.
And they want this man dead.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Wednesday, August 2nd, 2023 comes around. Bryan Kohberger's attorney said they would use an alibi defense for their client, right? So for Bryan. But that they weren't able to pin down his specific location on the night of the killings because he was driving during the late and early morning hours. Okay, so how are you going to use an alibi then?
Here's the thing. They're trying to get an alibi for this man, but this man has no alibi. Because
he was murdering in the early hours.
Apart from that, he had his phone turned off and no witnesses. So what does that mean?
You have no alibi.
Exactly.
That's a point of an alibi. Like, and then he even I'm going to quote this directly from the court documents. Mr. Kohberger is not claiming to be at a specific location at a specific time. At this time, there is not a specific witness to say precisely where Mr. Kohberger was at each moment of the hours. Okay, so he has no alibi. It's just stupid, right? So then, Wednesday, August 23rd, 2023, the judge agreed to delay Kohberger's trial, which was initially set to start on October 2nd. But like I said earlier, Kohberger waived his right to a speedy trial, so then the new trial date at that time wasn't set. Kohberger's attorney also filed a motion to dismiss the indictment against him, according to all the court records anyways. They cited a biased grand jury, inadmissible evidence, lack of sufficient evidence, and prosecutorial misconduct by withholding exculpatory evidence. So then Thursday, September 28th, 2023, prosecutors demanded that customer information from Amazon related to the purchase of knives as part of their investigation. They wanted it. They want all the customer info for that freaking K-bar knife, right? Is what it is? Yeah, the K-bar knife.
K-bar fixed knife.
Yep. Then we go late October. The judge denied one of two requests to dismiss the indictment against Kohberger. The judge's decision regarding the other request was not released at that time. So then December 28th, 2023, the scene of the crime, right? 1122 King Road was demolished after the property owner decided to donate that home to the school. He was like, I don't want anything to do with this. Well, and then Kaylee's family was like openly against it, and they were like, destroying the house is destroying one of the most critical pieces of evidence in this entire case. Before the trial's even set, you're going to just destroy the only piece of evidence we really have besides the knife sheath? Like,
here's the thing though on that is something we know from watching the documentaries is that it was a mess in there. Like, even though they cleaned it, I bet there's still bioburden embedded into the walls, absorbed through the sheetrock, the floors. There was blood leaking out of the house. Like, yeah. Even though if you clean it, that stuff's still there. It's like permanently there.
Yeah, and then they just destroyed it before a trial had even been set, dude. Which to me is insane. It
is iffy, but what if they already had enough evidence to get this man and go, Well, I mean, they do, obviously, but...
I mean, it's still crazy to me, like, that they were just like, we don't have a trial set, but it's gone. It's done. So then, September 12th, 2024, a judge ruled that the trial would be moved from Latah County, where the crime took place, to the capital city of Boise, Idaho, agreeing with the defense who argued that Latah County was tainted. What was that? The Xbox. Oh, the Xbox, okay. Then October 9th, 2024, Kohberger's trial date was pushed back from June 2025 to August 2025. As the case inched forward, though, defense attorneys sought to toss out the death penalty and get the DNA evidence excluded. Guess what? The judge said, fuck no. I'm just saying, like, I'm sure that's what he actually wanted to say, but he was like, no, not happening. Not happening. So then June 30th, 2025. This is just less than a month ago.
Yeah.
Right? Just weeks before his trial was set to begin in August, Kohberger agreed to plead guilty on all charges. 4 counts of first-degree murder and 1 count of burglary.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm. Kohberger will be spared the death penalty.
Oh, man.
And he's going to be sentenced to 4 consecutive life sentences on the murder count and the maximum penalty of 10 years on the burglary count. And this is due to the plea agreement he signed, right? He also waived his right to an appeal. Yeah. So, like, to me, it's crazy that he would rather spend life in prison than just die at this point.
For me, it's crazy that he denied it for almost 2 years that it wasn't him.
Almost 3 at this point.
Almost 3, yeah.
2.5 years.
And then all of a sudden, he's like, okay, I'm guilty. I did it. And I can't back out of it.
Yeah, and I can't back out, or that's just all like crazy. I do think he's guilty for sure. I just think, and the fact that he hasn't given an explanation of why he did it, and there's no information about it. He's just like, okay, I killed him. Put me in prison, dude. That's it.
You know what?
That's it.
You know what, Miranda? Let me make you hate this man a little more.
Okay.
All right, just from what I I'm pretty interested in all this stuff, like criminal killers that basically have no emotion. Like it's like a deep psychological way of them doing stuff.
Yeah.
The way they move, the way they act, no emotions, not feeling everything. He even said in one part that it felt like his life was like a video game and he could do whatever he wants. This man, before doing the killings, he had looked up on his phone killings, stuff like Ted Bundy and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And also, he looked at that stuff before and after the killings, and then he also was looking up porn related to sleeping and drugging. So he was.
So he's looking up SA porn.
SA, yes. That just looking up that stuff, it shows how deeply disturbing this man actually was.
Yeah, he was disturbed as hell, dude.
And these people, they're not dumb at all. They're geniuses. They're mad geniuses. They use their smarts for evil, obviously. He studied criminology in, was it Washington, Pennsylvania, and one of his teachers was Catherine Ramsland, who was also his professor. He deeply admired this woman. She even wrote a book. We'll have to look up the book number. We'll link the book in
our link tree.
In our link tree, yeah. But this man, in one of his graduating college papers, he had to write a paper on crime scenes. So he knew everything related to what they were looking for in crime scenes, how to get away with it, and what they were going to do. All this was planned, and he knew what he was doing at all moments.
Yeah. Well, and Kaylee, the way Kaylee's family looks at it, which I can see completely from their point of view, is when the prosecutors gave him this plea deal, right? When they were like, all right, well, you don't have to die, and you can't be appealed, whatever, and that's it. Like, you're just going to spend your life in prison. Like, if you guys all got murdered, I'd be like, that's it. Like, I want this man to suffer for the rest of his life, and now he just gets to read Twilight books and freaking read books and just chill in there for the rest of his life. Like, I don't think that's fair. I think he deserved worse, maybe. Like, I don't know. But like Kaylee's parents said the same thing. Like, they, what the prosecutor said when they 3 days before, I guess, they signed that plea deal, they met with all the victims' families, and they were like, hey, this is our like sincere attempt to seek justice for all the families and for the victims, blah blah blah. Kaylee's family was like, hold the F on. This seems like you're mishandling everything. You're rushing this plea deal. They also said, and they told ABC News this, that they contacted the prosecutors the day after the plea was signed, asking for the terms to be amended to include additional requirements, which was, one, a full confession and the location of the murder weapon. The family said prosecutors turned down the request, explaining that an offer already was accepted by the defendant and could not be ethically changed. And on a note, Idaho law requires the state to afford violent crime victims or their families an opportunity to communicate with prosecutors and to be advised of any proposed plea offer before entering it into an agreement. But the ultimate decision lies solely with the prosecution only. Yeah. So, like, I don't know. All of it's crazy. Like, I agree with Kaylee's family when they were like, okay, offer him the plea deal, but find out what the heck happened. Like, why did he do this? And also, where's the weapon? Tell us where it is so that we can have more peace of mind. Like, where is it? It's just sitting there, and like, how do they know that someone else wasn't holding it and Bryan was just there? They don't. No one does. Like,
yeah, no one, literally.
Like, he could have just flipped open the thing and another person took the knife and just went stab, stab, stab and then left. Like, there's a lot of questions. And yes, there's no proof of that. That is literally just a alleged conspiracy that I just talked about. So nobody go saying that I made up a lie, because I'm not. I'm just saying, like, that's how I would feel had that happened to someone else. I'd be like, we don't even have answers here. And you're just going to be like, well, he will sleep tight on his bunk forever. Okay, that's it? Like, that's how, I don't know. That's how I feel about it. How do you feel about it?
No, I think the same, dude, because I wouldn't give this man any kind of freedoms.
Yeah.
And
exactly.
And them not, I don't know how I feel about the death penalty, but like I said, because you can accidentally run over someone, like let's say your tires pop and then you can't control a vehicle and then you run over a person with a bike and then you accidentally kill them, right? That's an accident.
Yeah.
You can argue in court for that because you didn't do it with malice. He planned this. He killed them brutally, And for him, and like I said, like if you kill more than one person,
especially more than one person. But yeah,
he planned it. It was, and you don't deserve to have any kind of privileges in jail or by the court cases. Yeah, you don't deserve anything.
You don't deserve what you took away from them.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how I see it.
For basically leaving him alive is like spitting to the face of the
victim,
the victim's parents.
Yeah, it is like just being like, well, he'll just live the rest of his life here. Like we've done episodes with people who have been in prison. Like, yeah, it's not fun, but like you just get structure. You get fed every day. You get to read your books. You get to live your life. You're not like, I don't know, like yeah, bar plus. Like you're not in a cell 24 hours a day. Like I don't know, but it's just weird. Like bottom line is, Bryan Kohberger admitted he's guilty, and he will spend the rest of his life in prison. So, the motive still is a huge mystery. No one knows anything about it. And the case, like, has seriously impacted all the families and Moscow just alone. Because, like, that kind of thing has never even happened there, and now it's come to this point. And his actual sentencing is on July 23rd of this month. So just a couple days. And then at that point is when they'll actually say, hey, you're spending life in prison. They already know.
Yeah.
Because he's already been told and he signed the plea agreement. But that's when they're actually going to tell him. Now that we've kind of told you the story, to me, there's a couple things. Like, I don't like that he's never said where the knife is. That weirds me out. I want to talk a little bit about, like, the DNA. So, when the investigators came up with the idea, hey, they use this in cold cases a lot, like this, the way that they've done this. They sent the DNA to a private lab to see if they could find a match on, like, an ancestry type of website, like a public one, like 23andMe, Ancestry.com, genealogy, that kind of thing, right? And guess what, guys? It worked. So, genetic genealogy, this is a quote, was crucial in identifying the defendant in the Idaho murder case. According to a source close to the investigation, the private lab entered the DNA into a public ancestry database, and within days, all the cousins were starting to pop up as matches as well. Yeah.
Oh, man.
Mm-hmm. So then they started building a family tree. So they did use tools like Ancestry.com to help build up those trees. So once you get this individual's name, you can start building their entire family tree, and there's a lot of public records. That's what they said. And then they just kind of like started from there. Then with the surveillance cameras catching his car, and then the DNA on the knife sheath, like everything, and his like home literally being like 8 miles away. Boom. Like it all just kind of added up. But they did use Ancestry, which is like wild to me. Like that's pretty cool that they can do that.
So they had all these people's DNA is what I'm hearing.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. They have a ton of people's DNA. Now, as you know, the Mimi and Weezus podcast, we always finish and close our episodes out on some conspiracies. So we're not going to stray away from that anytime soon. We would like to start by saying the conspiracies that we will talk about, we have no intention of disrespecting the victims' families or the victims themselves. All of this is conspiracy, and
it's alleged.
Allegedly. I couldn't even think of it. It's all, just alleged information. We are just saying ideas that people have had online and other things. Yes, we've already watched the Cyber Sleuths documentary. We are not trying to make up any lies or spread false information. However, we want to talk about the things that stood out to us and a lot of other people on the internet. So, for me, something that has bothered me since the beginning, and like I said, I absolutely mean no disrespect to anyone by talking about it, but in one of the documentaries you'll see it, well actually in all three, but especially in like the first one we watched, which was the one I believe on Amazon or Paramount, now I don't remember, but it doesn't matter. One of the surviving roommates and then like one of their friends had spoke at the beginning of the documentary, and they stated that the morning of the murder, on November 13th, one of the surviving roommates had called them and said, dude, like, come to our house. we're freaked out because something really weird happened last night and we're not sure if it was a dream or if it was real life. Like, you should come over. So they, before calling the police and before, like, investigating, apparently, they called their friends first. And, like, to me, that has stuck with me through the whole time because I'm like, I don't care if we were straight up shooting up heroin the night before, dude. If I saw a murderer stabbing you to death, or thought I did, or heard anything and heard screaming and saw a masked man with a knife walking through the hallway, first thing I'm doing is trying to get my pal's help, right?
Yeah, of course.
I'm not just gonna go back to sleep and call my friends the next day and not call the police till noon.
Just because I'm feeling a little epi, you know? But
yeah,
it's
like,
alright.
Like, that to me is just crazy to me. Like, for you to wake up at 4:30 in the morning and, like, peek out and be like, oh, shoot, there is a masked man, and I heard screaming and whispering, and the dog going nuts, and a thud, and I'm just gonna go, dude, that is nuts, and then close the door, and then text my friend and be like, little scared, what should we do? Just come sit with me in my room, don't check anything, don't call the cops, don't call anyone. Like, does that not rub you the wrong way? Is it just me? Because, like, to me, I get it. You don't have to leave rude comments on the video about it, but, like, that's freaking weird. To me, anyway.
No, it definitely, it does rub me the wrong way because in any kind of situation that it's, like, involving someone breaking into your house, I feel like you panic right away, right? But you immediately seek help or you take action, right? You don't just wait, you know? It's like, oh, my wife went missing. I'll deal with it tomorrow.
Yeah.
It's that's how they made it seem.
I'll deal with it tomorrow. I will call my friend first to see, like,
what should I do?
In a case of a missing, yeah, I would probably call my friends and be like, bro, so-and-so left. Haven't seen him since. Something weird is up. But in this case where I'm like, I heard stuff, no one is answering their phone. We saw a masked person walking through the hallway in all black at 4 a.m.
It was just a dream, Miranda.
Yeah,
right?
It was just a dream. Like, none of that to me is reasonable or normal. In my mind. Maybe these people grew up really, like, sheltered and privileged or something, but, like, to me, in no situation, regardless of whether you were homeschooled and never seen another human in your life, like, that is weird as hell to just be like, oh, well, and then calling your friends first and being like, dude, something weird happened. Maybe come over. And then their friend was the one who came in and was like, call 911. They called all their friends to come over first. And then there was also reports that there were, like some of the other students that obviously weren't killed, their parents reported and went on and talked on some of the documentaries about how their children were part of, like, Snapchat groups and, like, you know, group chats and stuff where they were like, oh my gosh, these people were murdered, and, like, details of the murder and all this stuff was being talked about before the police were even called. So there's all that information, and, like, yes, that was part of, like, just other students talking, and, like, you don't really hear about that in all the court stuff, but if any of that is true, that really puts a twist on it. Yes, everyone knows Bryan is guilty, but is there anyone else involved?
That's where we hit you with our second conspiracy is, what if there was two people? Mm-hmm. Okay, you know, she did say, you know, it was tall, skinny, athletic build. That doesn't mean he's a monster of a man to be able to speed kill 4 people in 16 minutes. That's, like, even if you, let's say, 4 minutes per person, speed killing 4 minutes per person, like, is this man a bodybuilder and was wielding a katana to be able to stab them that quick and then move on to the next person and then stab them, do all that stuff, and then move on to the next person? In that amount of time, I personally, I've gone in fights, and the amount of energy you exert in a minute, the amount of adrenaline that kicks in maybe 2-3 minutes, and then you're gassed out.
Yeah.
You're telling me he had enough adrenaline to last him 16 minutes of brutally killing these people, and
not leave a trace of evidence.
Not leave a trace of evidence. Walk out quietly, and then not get caught for another 2 to 3 months.
Yeah, all of it is literally insane to me, especially because I think of the fact that if we were all in this house, like, we have a 3-story house right now. We have a split level home just like the home in at 1122 King Road, right? Or is it 1122 or 2211? It's 1122. So we have a split level home just like that. Literally. There's not a door at the basement, but there is, you come in, you go upstairs, there's 3 bedrooms up there. You come downstairs, there's a living room, kitchen. You go down some more steps, there's, another living area and another bathroom, and then the garage door. Same thing, there's not doors that separate it off, but yes, we have a dog as well. I'm just saying, if the dog's barking like a psychopath at 4 a.m, you hear a loud thud, and then you peek out, and there's a masked man walking down your hall, you're just going to go, oh, shoot. And then, the other thing I'm thinking is, none of the 4 people who were stabbed multiple times, not just one time each, they didn't move at all and wake up the person next to them. There was no screaming. There was no fighting for your life type of thing where your roommates could hear. Because the people in the basement were obviously awake because they were texting back and forth during it happening. So it's not like they were dead asleep not hearing anything. They were awake because they were texting, saying, oh my God, what was that? This is so scary. I'm freaked out. Run to my room. And you didn't hear like, ah! I probably shouldn't have done that, but like you don't hear anything. You don't hear screaming. You don't hear a struggle. You just like see a guy walking around on his tippy toes. Like, that's just weird to me. And maybe that is truly what happened. Like, that could 100% be it. But like, it just rubs me the wrong way. Like I said before, it's just really strange. And why do you think he did it?
Like I was telling you, these people with no emotion in their eyes, they don't need a reason. It's just because they wanted to.
Yeah.
And that's what I think, right? But maybe he had a crush on one of the victims. Was like, hey, yo, ma, let me get your number, right? And then he got turned down. And you know how spiteful. I'm not saying this is an incel case, but he is an incel.
Yeah. Well, there was a lot of reports of him being on incel websites and him being like part of that what do we call it? Not necessarily, do we call it a culture? Like, I don't know, being part of that lifestyle, let's say.
Yeah.
And there were reports and proof of it based on his web history and what he had searched before and after the murders. So, could that be the case? We'll never know, I guess, because he won't speak. He won't talk about it. He won't tell anyone anything.
Well, I hope someday the truth comes out and the parents get the validation that they need.
Yeah. I hope they get like some form of closure for what happened. I mean, like we said in our very first ever pilot episode, I think, is like you never really get closure. Like, even when it's an accidental death, like, closure is hard to come by. Like, you might find a way to get by, but there's not ever really, like, those kids didn't deserve that.
The pain of losing someone never goes away.
Yeah.
You just learn to live with it.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, grief is forever. Grief is forever. And I just hope that the families do find comfort someday, and I hope the truth does come out, because it is definitely like a chilling story for sure. You guys, tell us what you think. I don't even know what else to say. Just tell us what you think. This is really hard. I don't even know how to close this episode. It's not a good way to end this because the story's not over, Yeah,
well, if there's updates, we will give you guys a part 2. We'll probably come out maybe in another episode, talk about his court hearing and how he's prosecuted. And if you're listening to Spotify, make sure to download the episode. If you're on YouTube, make sure to like and subscribe.
And we out.
Yeehaw, brother.